From posing next to powerful bears to standing too close to a charging elephant, these selfies turned from fun to frightening in seconds. Find out how these quick snapshots turned into terrifying encounters, reminding us all why you should never get too close to the wild for a picture. Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. As an unknown tourist, known only by the name Karen, moved close to a camel for the perfect picture, things quickly turned sour. She held her camera out in front of her, with her back pressed against the bars of the camel's enclosure, and smiled for the picture. But the camel wasn't smiling back. It was more interested in the woman's hair. Suddenly, and without warning, it flicked its head forward and grabbed a chunk of Karen's hair. Karen's head was flung backwards with the force, and a chunk of her hair was ripped from her scalp. Despite Karen's misfortune, the camel nonchalantly chewed the clump of hair as if it were chewing grass. 42-year-old Giancarlo Triaca from Mexico was vacationing with his wife Erica in Greece when the unexpected happened. On a dry, dusty area leading down to the turquoise blue sea, Giancarlo and Erica paused to observe some animals. Peacocks were pecking in the dirt, and deer ambled by. It looked like a magical scene, and the couple spent some time taking photos of the animals and tentatively holding their hands out to see if the deer would come closer. But just how close, Giancarlo was about to find out. When one deer approached him, he saw the perfect opportunity for a selfie. With his back turned to the animal, Giancarlo raised his phone in front of him and smiled. But the deer didn't take kindly to the photograph. It reared up and headbutted Giancarlo in the torso. Its rock-hard head and impressive curly antlers crashed into his ribs, shoving him away with such force that he lost his footing. It was clear that the deer had caused significant injury. Giancarlo walked away clutching his ribcage, but he was determined to enjoy the rest of their vacation, despite sustaining multiple broken ribs from the encounter, a holiday he will never forget. When a young woman visited Wildlife World Zoo, Aquarium, and Safari Park in Phoenix, Arizona in 2019, she got the fright of her life. Not long before the zoo closed for the day, the woman ignored the safety signs and crossed the safety barrier toward the Jaguar's cage. Then, leaning in front of her camera, she posed for a selfie. But the Jaguar was closer than she realized and grabbed her arm through the metal bars. The woman screamed as the Jaguar's claws dug into her skin. The grip was so powerful that the woman simply couldn't break free. One visitor, Adam Wilkerson, and his mom rushed to help. While his mom poked a plastic water bottle through the bars to distract the big cat, Adam pulled the woman free. She lay on the ground sobbing and in shock with a bloodied arm. Paramedics arrived and she was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Fortunately, the Jaguar was not euthanized and lived to claw another day, as the attack was the result of human error. Not long after the selfie trend emerged back in 2012, it nearly cost one Yellowstone visitor their life. Throughout the park, visitors are warned about getting too close to the wildlife, including bison. These massive herbivores, weighing up to 990 kilograms or 2,100 pounds and standing more than 6 feet at the shoulder, can sprint 3 times faster than a person can run. But their seemingly docile nature and raw power, combined with people's need to post photos on social media, is a recipe for disaster. In 2015, a 43-year-old Mississippi woman with her daughter spotted a herd of bison just off the Ferry Falls trailhead. They walked closer to the bison until they felt they would have the perfect shot. Turning their back to the animal that was only 6 yards away, the pair smiled at the camera. But they suddenly heard a pounding of hooves coming for them. Glancing over their shoulders, they saw a flash of brown and 2 sharp horns. They ran for their lives, but it was too late. The bison crashed straight into the mother, hurling her sky high into the air. She landed with a thud, dizzied, dazed, and winded. Her family rushed her to Old Faithful Clinic for treatment, but she had sustained only minor injuries. The two were incredibly lucky the attack was not more severe. But stupidity seems to run wild amongst tourists desperate to get that incredible selfie with a wild animal. This woman was the third that season alone to be attacked by one of the park's bison, specifically while trying to take a selfie. 72-year-old Moira Gallagher from Scotland was visiting Romania with her friend Charmaine Widowson when they decided to head to the Carpathian Mountains. They followed the twisting, winding road through the mountains. Tall trees surrounded them as they entered bear country. In fact, Romania has the largest population of European brown bears in the world. But Moira and Charmaine were naive when they spotted two bears lumbering along the road not far from where they were driving. They followed them, the mother and her cub. Perhaps the most aggressive a female bear will be is when she's protecting her cubs. But the two women were intent on getting a good photo, something to remember the encounter with. And what an encounter it turned out to be. They rolled the car to a standstill and took a photo of the two brown bears. But Moira wasn't happy with the picture. She insisted they turn the car around so that the bears were on her side of the car. This time when they pulled up next to the bears, Moira rolled the window down and leaned out, just feet from them. It was a mistake that nearly cost her life. The female bear lunged forward and bit down on Moira's arm and hand. Suddenly, she was being pulled by the bear, but the bear luckily let go before causing too much damage. Charmaine rushed her friend to Curtea de Argus Municipal Hospital, where she spent a few days before being released. In the commotion, Moira lost her phone and the photo of the bears. Between 2014 and 2016, India had the highest rates of death linked to selfies of anywhere else in the world. In 2018, Prabhu Bhattara was driving a jovial group from a wedding in the Nabarangpur district of Odisha. Suddenly, the taxi driver stopped the vehicle. He had spotted a sloth bear ambling from the undergrowth out into the open. He immediately jumped out of his vehicle and walked over toward the animal with his cell phone in his hand. The passengers urged him to come back, but all Prabhu wanted was a selfie. Others in the wedding party could tell that there was something wrong with the bear. It was limping and acting strangely. Rather than run at the sight of them, it lingered. Then Prabhu slipped on some wet mud, which frightened the animal. It suddenly launched an attack on the taxi driver. But the bear was ferocious. Despite only being 2 or 3 feet tall, sloth bears are powerful. Their sharp teeth and claws can slice through skin and flesh. One woman threw a stick at the bear, but it didn't react. The bear continued to maul Prabhu relentlessly, even as he now lay motionless in the mud. Instead of getting a selfie to show his friends and family, Prabhu's traumatic, slow, and painful death was caught on camera. Would you believe that some people try to get up close to one of the most feared predators on the face of the earth, all for an inspiring photo that they can share with friends and family? The saltwater crocodile is responsible for 1,000 deaths per year, but most of those are when unsuspecting victims walk too close to a river or swim in fresh water or the sea without knowing the risks. But for some, getting close to the reptiles is deliberate. 46-year-old French tourist was visiting Khao Yai National Park in Thailand in 2023 when she spotted a crocodile lying in Lam Takong stream. She immediately spotted a photo opportunity with the reptile's knobby head protruding from the water, its eyes fixed in a glazed stare, and its immense body hidden in the murkiness of the stream. She rushed down the bank toward the unmoving creature. It was thought to be one of a pair of Siamese crocodiles that had taken up residence in the stream since 5 years before. But before Benetouillet could snap the perfect picture, the crocodile snapped first. It grabbed her leg and pulled her toward the water. Luckily, Siamese crocodiles are less aggressive than their saltwater cousins and primarily feed on fish, snakes, and small mammals. When Benetouillet put up a fight with the help of her husband, the crocodile released her. She was rushed to the hospital in Prachinburi for first aid before being transferred to Bangkok, where she was expected to make a full recovery. Yet another crocodile selfie could have cost lives, especially the lives of young children, when their parents asked them to pose next to a crocodile. The crocodile had emerged from the dense swampland and was lying beside the road, soaking up the sunshine, when a group of tourists stopped their bicycles to take a photo. Rather than keeping their distance from the open jaws of one of nature's most dangerous animals, the parents waved their children in front of the grinning beast so they could take the ultimate shot. Luckily for them, it didn't turn out to be their ultimate photo, but the footage was heavily criticized on social media for its pure stupidity and lack of respect for the formidable predator. A couple from Argentina was visiting Perth when they spotted a kangaroo beside the road. Upon realizing the perfect photo opportunity, the woman walked slowly behind the kangaroo and crouched down while the husband pointed the lens at her. The kangaroo seemed placid enough as it continued to graze the grass, its head down, paying little attention to the tourists. Then the woman reached out to stroke the furry creature. But this was a step too far. Suddenly, the kangaroo leapt into action, jumping up and pushing the woman with its front legs. The woman nearly toppled over before jumping out of the way. She was very lucky the kangaroo didn't commit to a full-on attack. The woman posted the video online to warn others of the dangers when getting too close to wildlife. What was supposed to be a cute selfie in Bali turned into something unexpected. A woman on vacation spotted the small monkey perched on the railings of a walkway. When she leaned over to pose next to it in front of her camera, the monkey reached out. The picture quickly turned from a broad smile from a holidaymaker to a look of horror as the monkey grabbed her hair and yanked it firmly. It goes to show that wild animals can turn in an instant. Although they may look placid, calm, and friendly, they may have very different intentions when you get too close to them. On February 15, 2024, 34-year-old Prahlad Gujar bought a ticket and entered Sri Venkateswara Zoo in India's southern city of Tirupati. He then walked toward the lion enclosure. While a zoo employee watched, Prahlad then walked beyond the barriers and began climbing the high concrete fence bordering the secluded zone. The employee immediately raised the alarm, but before security could arrive, Prahlad had accessed the gate into the lion's den. The lions were waiting for him. Prahlad clearly had the intention of taking a selfie. He was armed only with his cell phone, poised and ready for the perfect shot, but it never came. Before he had a chance to say cheese, one of the male lions pounced on him. It took Prahlad by surprise. He assumed the big cats were docile, tame creatures, but these animals still had killer instinct despite being bred in captivity. He was dragged throughout the enclosure by the male lion. A bite to his neck proved fatal, and by the time security and police had arrived, Prahlad had breathed his last breath. Zimbabwe has one of the largest populations of elephants in the world, but these animals are not to be messed with and were responsible for 20 human deaths between January and October 2019. Most of those fatalities also resulted in the elephant responsible being killed too. But who exactly is responsible for these attacks? If an animal is provoked, it has a right to fight back, and taking selfies with wildlife invariably provokes it. Just outside Zimbabwe's city of Kwekwe, several elephants escaped the nearby wildlife reserve and headed toward a rural community. Some villagers came out to see the impressive animals, but some got too close. A man walked up to one of the elephants and tried to take a selfie with it. But the elephant saw red. It trumpeted loudly and ran at him. Before he could run away, he was knocked to the ground by the elephant. Then it grabbed him with its trunk and dragged him several meters before trampling him. The man's friend was also caught up in the action, but avoided being trampled and was rushed to Kwekwe General Hospital instead. Zimbabwe Parks and Wildlife Management Authority made the decision to shoot the elephant. A tragic end on both accounts. In 2014, 17-year-old Brian Janess was on a trip with his mom in Florida looking at colleges when they decided to visit John Chestnut Park near Tampa. As they walked along the wooden walkways, a curious squirrel scuttled along one of the handrails. Then it paused, looking at Brian and his mother. Brian immediately walked up to it, making clicking noises with his tongue, trying to get it to stay still for the perfect selfie. But it turns out, even the smallest of animals can be camera shy. As Brian leaned into the squirrel and grinned at his camera, the click from the camera and the bright flash startled the animal, and it immediately leapt at Brian. It crawled up underneath Brian's shirt and clung onto his back. Brian ran along the boardwalk, jumping up and down, trying to shake the squirrel off. His mother captured the whole ordeal on her own camera, and eventually, when Brian dived onto the floor, the squirrel ran away. It turns out that more people are killed by selfies gone wrong than by shark or alligator attacks. In fact, between 2011 and 2017, selfies claimed around 43 lives a year. So the next time you pull out your camera for the perfect animal selfie, remember to think twice.